It's time to draw the trees, and for this I'm going to use the blob brush tool. So we will just start drawing here, maybe a little bit thicker brush size. I'm using the square bracket keys to increase this density or the thickness of the brush. And I'm going to start drawing this first tree here in the foreground. And the way I imagine this is that it's going to create a very strong contrast and hide certain parts of the wolf head. So I want the wolf head not to be as obvious as it is right now. I want it to be disappearing in the background, something that's lurking in the forest, like a menace that is there, but right now it's not visible completely. And one thing that I want to achieve here is that some of these trees will go and extend beyond the silhouette of the wolf head, while some others will actually end exactly at the same place. Now for this I'm going to probably use a clipping mask, but for now I'm just going to concentrate on creating the tree shapes. So I want a nice randomness to them, but still we have to keep in mind that plants grow and try to reach for the sky always. So all of these branches need to go upwards. And let's just create another one here. And one good thing about the blob brush is that it's going to connect these together. Even if I'm starting drawing them separately, once they reach each other, it will join it into a single path. Let's just create that line a little bit longer. Of course, I can decrease my brush size as I'm drawing these details. So I'm just going to reduce the brush size now since I'm reaching the smaller details. I'm just adding some more varied branch sizes here. Maybe another one here this way can come out. Again, I'm not following exactly the sketch that I created. That's just a guideline, but this is looking quite good. I will use the smooth option and the simplify as well. So simplify it down to something like that. That looks really good. I like the way this looks. Now this tree, for instance, I already wanted to end exactly where the outline of the wolf head is. But remember that we used this roughen effect around the edges, so it's not just that simple clean outline that we originally had there. So I'm going to have to use exactly the same effect. And the easiest way to achieve this is to really use the same object. So I'm going to copy that clipping mask that we have here, copy it, and paste it on top of everything else. So that was Command or Control C and then Command or Control F. So here we have the same exact thing. If I turn it on and off, you can see it's exactly the same outline that we need. And now that this is on top, I can just select the tree that we created, the two together. So both this new outline or silhouette of the wolf head and the tree, and then press Command or Control 7. And that way we have the tree inside that outline. However, because this is an effect, the clipping mask is not actually cutting it out properly. If I press Command or Control Y, we can see it's actually following the original edge, the edge without the roughen effect. So that is a problem. What we need to do is to go back one step. So before we apply the clipping mask, and we actually have to expand the effect. So I'm going to select that duplicate shape of the wolf outline and then go to Object menu and choose Expand Appearance. So what this is going to do is that from the appearance panel, the roughen effect will disappear. And now we can check the outline is actually using that rough outline. That's Command or Control Y to switch between this view and the other. And now if I select these two shapes again, the wolf head that has been expanded and the tree, now we can press Command or Control 7. And although we are going to get this warning that this is a little bit too complex, we can just go ahead and it's doing exactly what we wanted. So we can zoom out and see how this is now clipped inside that outline. Now, one thing that we need to fix though is that I don't want these details to be clipped at the bottom. I only want them to be clipped here on the top. So what we need to do is to go back to the actual shape that is used as the clipping mask and draw a big rectangle at the bottom, something like that. And then select this and the clipping mask together and then unite them using the Pathfinder panel. But when you do this, the clipping mask is released. So we have to turn this back into a clipping mask. Just select these two shapes again and then press Command or Control 7. And now, as you can see, we achieved what we wanted to. So if I move this tree around, we can see that it's going to be clipping on the top using that nice rough edge that we created. But whenever I move it down, like here, these details obviously are still showing. So this is exactly what I wanted, and I can align this tree back to where my sketch had the original tree, like that. Now I notice that some of the branches are also being clipped, but that's not a problem. Yeah, something like that works well. And now if I want to draw inside this clipping mask, I just have to select it and then choose Draw Inside. So now, going back to my blob brush, I can start drawing here on the top again with a thick brush. And you can see it's already drawing only inside the outline. But when I come down this way, I can go and extend out the details from the outline, because at the bottom we have the mask extended as well. I am going to probably speed this part of the tutorial up because I'm just going to draw a couple of trees here and using the same techniques and methods. So I draw them with the blob brush tool, and then when I'm happy with the details, I use the simplify and the smooth effects on it, and then I'm just going to keep building these up until I have enough details here the way I imagined it. And you can see that some details I'm trying to keep symmetrical, like these two branches, without being too obvious, but I will also try to make them still look different, so this one can go out a bit more. So yeah, I'm just going to select this and apply smooth and then simplify, and then if there's any details that I left out, like this one here in the middle, I'm just going to fill it up. Now there's actually one important thing worth mentioning here. If you don't want to accidentally join up multiple trees when you are using the blob brush tool, which can easily happen. So for instance here, if I just draw this line, immediately these two became a single object. We can see it here in the layers panel. So even though they were two separate objects, now they became one. And that is because I'm using the same color. So two black objects connected with the blob brush tool automatically unite, similar to what you would get with the Pathfinder panel. And normally it wouldn't be an issue if it's a single tree. We want to keep things tidy in the layers panel, but to be able to move these trees around independently, we don't want multiple trees to be merged together. So to avoid this happening, just remember to lock your trees once they are ready before moving on to draw new ones. So for instance, now if I draw another line across these objects, you can see it's not going to merge them together. It's going to start as a new shape, and if I draw another shape, this is going to still be the same path, and still it's not going to affect the existing trees. But now that we discussed this, let me speed things up a bit. Let me draw some more of these trees, and then we can discuss what to do next. Okay, so let's just take a quick look at what we created here. We have these trees that we added and some details at the bottom. I'm just going to rename this dirt or rocks, some additional details there. And then obviously we have the trees that are clipped to the outline. I will actually name this trees clipped, and then I'll just call this one more trees. Let's turn that on as well. Nice and dense. And then behind this, we have these two additional trees, which I will put into the same group, and I will call these orange trees. Actually, let's just call them red trees. I'm using a gradient on them. Nice transition. On the top, it's more orange, and the bottom, it's more red. So that's just add some depth to the illustration. I didn't want everything to be too dense. So if I were to use black on these, I'm just going to show this quickly, it would be too dense. It would be hard to see what's going on. While with this more softer color, that is obviously in harmony with the rest of the colors used in the illustration, it looks already much more interesting. Now, what we still have to do is to add some additional final touches and refinements, mainly on the wolf's head, but also maybe some additional details in the foreground. And finally, we will also add the text or the title, since this is a book cover, and I kept this part here in the middle free for that.